do you think there is so much creativity around here? I don't know.
Don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. Boredom in the past? I don't know. I was born in Westport, Nova Scotia. That's about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes from downtown Yarmouth. Drawing was my first ambition, I guess. When I was very young, probably between the ages of 7, 8, 9, somewhere around there, I would copy comic book characters. They were just linear drawings, so they were fairly easy to do. I was pretty good at it. Nothing that I did was worth framing or anything like that, but that's where it all started. In my early teens, I first witnessed to someone doing serious art was my cousin, Michael Cottrell. He lived right across the street from me in Wedgeport. He had taken a home art course, and I think back then it was through the mail. In other words, he would be given assignments. He would do the assignment, he would draw, and send the assignment back to the company that it came from for evaluation or critiquing and so on. And whenever I was allowed, I would go across the street and join him in his studio where he was doing the drawing. And I was really impressed with the stuff that he was doing. The interest in drawing came long before the painting. I really credit Michael for the inspiration to draw. I moved to the States, got married. Donna is from Yarmouth as well, my wife. And she moved to the States probably a year or so after. Had 2 boys. And then we lived in the States probably 9.5 years or so. And then we moved to Cape Breton. I was in the trades. I'm a carpenter by trade. I met a gentleman, convinced him for him and I to go in business, doing cabinet work, kitchen cabinets. So we set up a shop, we built a shop, did that for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and then we switched over to furniture restoration. It was busy. There was a big demand for that. We did work for like the Fortress Louisbourg, for instance. In the meantime, my wife Donna saw an article in the paper about the College of Cape Breton giving out night courses in various different topics. And one of them was art. So she said to me, "You always like to draw, why don't I sign you up?" So she did, she signed me up. The teacher was Emma Leloup, was her name. On the first night, she set up a still life. It was a dish, like a dinner plate, and in front there was like a juice pitcher and an orange. That's it. And she said, I want you to just use two colors, burnt umber and white. That's all you can use. Draw it first and then paint it. So before the night was over, after 2 hours, I had the thing done. She was quite impressed with that. I had never lifted a brush in my life, so I lucked out on that one. And then from there, I was invited to join a group to paint. There was like 7 or 8 people there, all artists. They were all more experienced than I was. We would meet every Tuesday night, and every other week we had a local, quite well-known artist, Thorne Morrow. And he would come in and give us a few tips, critique our work, and so on. My wife worked with us in a shop, staining and sanding furniture and so on. But I was the one going out, giving the estimates and picking up furniture, pretty much. So whenever I would get into these houses, I would see these paintings on the walls. And one painting really caught my eye. It was a seascape, and it was very well done. The artist was Lloyd Pretty from Newfoundland. He had lived in Cape Breton for a while and then moved back to Stephenville, Newfoundland. Found out through another friend into that group that we met there every Tuesday night. He said, I hear Lloyd Pretty's having an exhibition in Newfoundland. We should pack up and go. And so we did. I met Lloyd Pretty. While there was another artist that he was sharing the show with. His name was Brian Lasaga. And these 2 guys are amazing artists for realism. So I was really impressed. So all the time that I was learning and starting to paint, I wanted to paint like these two guys. I never did reach their level of painting, but the inspiration came from these two guys.
Right.
And from there, I never looked back. The subject matter here is quite complex. There's a lot going on in there. In order to stay focused, I use the grid method. On the left-hand side, I've got numbers going down, and then on the top, I have the alphabet. This column here is 7E. So I go to 7E, and there's 7E. There's not much there. So really, it's all about doing a whole bunch of little paintings within one painting. I know there are a lot of critics out there would say, really, is that how you paint? But I don't paint for critics. I paint for myself. I'm self-taught, no formal training, no. Now, mind you, I did attend workshops. Back in the middle 80s, I found out through my in-laws in Toronto that there was a workshop being given in Tweed, Ontario. The artist was Gutern Otto. He was from Austria, I think. Anyway, I attended that workshop for 2 summers in a row. It was quite expensive. I had to fly there and then pay for the workshop, and I had to get a ride from Toronto to Tweed. Now, mind you, I bought a lot of books, and how I trained myself was copying other people's paintings from the books that I bought. That was a good learning, you know, it was easy learning. Actually, I was talking to Roy Mandel one time, he's a friend of mine. He said, don't go to school, learn how to paint. That's the advice he gave me anyway. Which I wouldn't have done so anyway, because when I started painting, I was 35 years of age, and I had, you know, house mortgage payments, car payments, and 2 kids and a family to feed. Yeah, it was all learning on my own. I like to paint what I see in the way I see it, and I like to paint my surroundings. Where we live here in Arcadia, I feel very lucky to live where we are. I'm within 10 minutes of driving to any location to find source material for painting. You know, I can go to Wedgeport around the wharfs where there's boats and dories, and I can go to Chabog where there's, you know, good landscape there. I can go in town. My style of painting is I try to paint what I see in the way I see it. That's what I aim for. It's not for everyone. Not everybody likes realism.
Has your style evolved over time?
Not really. Although when I first started painting, I was painting in oils. And I always had somewhat of a makeshift studio in the basement. And then you had the smell of turpentines or whatever solvents I was using at the time. So I switched to acrylics. Acrylics, all you need is water. That's it for mixing your paint and washing your brushes. Well, after living in Cape Breton for 9.5 years or so, we moved back home, which is here, in 1983. As soon as I got here, I found out about the Amateur Art Society, and I joined. And after a few years, I even became president for a couple of years or so. And I'm also a founding member of the Amateur Waterfront Gallery. There was myself and a fellow from away who lived here at the time by the name of Ted Randall. Him and I got together, and we gathered a bunch of artists, and we started the Yarmouth Waterfront Gallery. And it's still going on today. I was a member for 9 years or so. I was the president of the Waterfront Gallery for 6-7 years, I guess. It was good. We were on Water Street there in the old Killen Brothers building. And then we had 2 ferries docking here. So we had a lot of tourists. The gallery was doing very well. And we were all doing well. When we first started, there was like 16 of us as a membership. And that's still going on today. They're going to open pretty soon, I guess. Yeah, on Main Street, yeah. When we were on Water Street in the old Killen Brothers with the 2 ferries coming in, we had a lot of tourists coming in. I shipped paintings to anywhere from California to New York to Pennsylvania. Georgia. I ship paintings everywhere. On the second floor at first, and then we moved on to the first floor. It was a great spot. Two highlights in my so-called art career. All the Tri-Counties were celebrating their 225th anniversary. They had invited Madame Jeanne Sauvé. She was the then Governor General of Canada. She was an invited guest. Anyway, all the Tri-Counties commissioned me to do a painting to give to her as a gift. And I was invited to present the painting to her in person.
Right.
My wife and I got to meet her on the lawn of the motel in Hebron. We had gathered inside, then we went out on the lawn. She was going to make a round. And if I was to stand here, my wife and I, she would stop and we would have a little chit-chat. In French, of course. And anyway, we met her again on the lawn. The other highlight was in 2007. I was approached by the Lung Association of Canada, asking if I would give them permission to use some of my floral and wildlife painting. And I said, sure. And they chose, I think, 6 of my paintings. And those were the fundraising stamps. And they went right across Canada. That was a thrill, for me. And then they took it one step further. In the fall of that year, they wanted to print postcards with my images on the face of the card. And I said, sure, go ahead. My style's going to pretty much stay the same, And I always treated my art as a hobby. I always had a day job. This was never a means to make a living. Forget it. Even when I had my frame shop and gallery there on Collins Street, I ran that for about 10 years. And the framing part was my income, not the art that I sold, For whatever reason, sometimes the locals don't support you all that much. You always sell paintings outside of the area. That's just the real world, I guess.
Showing your work, or do you find the process itself more rewarding?
I think the process. Sure, I like to show my paintings. Who doesn't? I think most artists do. But the process is where the interest is. It's not always easy. The way I paint is, it's all about making mistakes and keep correcting them, I guess, till it makes it look right. Yeah, showing paintings, it's okay. It's a way of showing off,
Right.
And if you sell one, that's a bonus.
Seems like there's a lot of creativity around Southwest Nova.
Oh, it's I know a lot of artists. And you've made videos on them. I know them all.
Right. A welcoming environment.
Pretty much. I don't think it's not competitive. Right. We all get along pretty good,
We all know any art community can get, petty jealousies and its ego.
There's a little bit of that, yeah. I've witnessed that myself. Yeah. But you have to move on. Right. Just move on. Right. You do what you do, and I'll do what I do, and let's get along. Don't go there. I'm a firm believer of artists helping artists.